Greetings to one and all. In today's video, we would be looking at one of the most important topic of accountancy, that is classification of accounts. In fact, this particular topic is the base of accountancy. So do remember that through your life, if you have to do accounts, these particular classification and this particular topic would be very, very important from future point of view. So please do not miss it. Any queries, do ask me your queries through your chats. So let's begin the topic. Now, what exactly do we mean by classification of accounts? Always remember that all these years when you were not an account student, you have always been thinking from the customer's point of view. You've never thought as a businessman. You've never thought from the business point of view. So henceforth, when you do accountancy, you will have to start thinking from business point of view. How exactly is a businessman going to record entries in his books of accounts for the transactions that he has dealt with? So when we think from that point of view, you would be clearly able to realize that any transaction which we record in our books can be classified either into a person or into a thing. So anything that you record in a transaction could be the details of a thing that we have either purchased or sold, or it could be related to a person. Now let's see all these things in detail. So the classification goes as follows. Basically, there would be two major categories of accounts. One is the personal and another is the impersonal accounts. So what exactly do we mean by personal and impersonal? As we go ahead in this video, we would see one by one. So now under the personal category, what are the three classifications or sub-classifications? Let's see that. The first is the natural person. That is, it could be any person's name whose account we would be maintaining in our book. A natural person could be Mr. X, Mr. Y, an organization, and so forth. So as we proceed, you would get to know all these details in detail. The next is the artificial person of accounts, that is an organization. Then comes the representative personal accounts. Now, as far as representative personal accounts is concerned, it would be a bit confusing at this stage for you to understand. So let's not go into those details as of now. What exactly do we have in impersonal accounts? And impersonal accounts, when we are talking about, could be categorized into two main things. That's the real account and the nominal account. So real account, as the name says, is something which exists, something which is real. That would be termed as a real account. So anything which is visible to your eyes or which could be felt or which has a physical existence is called as tangible. So a building, a book, a motor car, or furniture, all those could be termed as tangible accounts. But what exactly is intangible is again a bit difficult for you to understand at this stage because you are just beginning to have these concepts in your mind. But intangible is something, as the English meaning says, that something which is not visible, something which is not seen, but it still exists. So those examples, as we go ahead, you would give you a little bit of clarity. So intangible assets also come into the category of real accounts. Now, what is the next category that comes under the impersonal accounts? That subdivision of impersonal accounts is nothing but the nominal accounts. The nominal, as the name says, for the sake of a transaction, we just have a name. So under the name we transact, under that particular account, we either give money or take money. That's the nominal account. So all the expenses that we do on a day-to-day basis, or let's say any or rent that we pay, or if you travel by bus, the traveling expenses that you pay is basically all those which is a name under which the transactions takes place, the exchange of money takes place, and this could be either an expense or it could be income from the business point of view. So when we talk about an expense, it could be, let's say for example, a businessman has hired a place and he is supposed to pay rent. The rent becomes his expense. But at the same time, if he owns a building or he owns something and he is receiving rent, then that rent becomes his income. So nominal accounts, the same name would be in two different categories. The same name could be there as an income as well as an expense. Similarly, commission. Commission, a businessman could either earn or he could give. Discount, he could earn or he could give. All these come under the category of nominal accounts. So let's go more in detail. Now under the category of personal accounts, for us all these days as a normal consumer, we could only imagine of writing a person's name into our books. In case we are supposed to pay a person, we would note down his name. In case we are supposed to receive money from some person, we would write his name. So as the name says, personal account is related to any natural person. But in accountancy, we do consider something more than a natural person under the category of personal accounts. Now what exactly are those? So if we talk about a set of people coming together and having a business, it could be a partnership firm. Now the partnership firm, although it's not one natural person, comes under the category of an artificial person. So the artificial person's category could be for either a partnership firm, a joint stock company, a Hindu undivided family, or any organization where there are a group of people coming together and working. So it could be an organization, it could be an institution, it could be a group of people coming together and having a business as a non-profit making organization. So all these do come under the category of personal accounts. So as we go ahead, when you see the examples, things would be much clearer to whatever I'm explaining it to you now. Then what exactly is the representative personal accounts? As I earlier told you, representative personal accounts, as you see examples further, I would be giving you more clarity about it. But remember, wherever there is a word prefixed to a nominal account with prepaid or outstanding, they would come under this category of representative personal accounts. So this is one thing that you need to remember. As we go ahead, it would be more clearer to you. Some of the examples of natural persons which come under the category of personal accounts could be any person's name, like it could be Rajesh, it could be Tom, it could be Smith, it could be Samir, it could be any person. That person's name, in case we write in our books of account, that would be termed as a natural person. But what exactly is an artificial person? If it's the name of a bank or a company, then we would term it, or a club, we would term it as an artificial person's account. Okay, now coming to the representative personal account. So any expense, any nominal account, or it could be an expense or an income, when it is preceded by the word prepaid or outstanding, would be termed as a representative personal account. So outstanding rent, whether it's an income or an expense. Prepaid wages, again, generally it's an expense from a business point of view, could be termed as a impersonal it could be termed as a personal account, which is a representative personal account. Under the category of impersonal accounts, we had two different accounts. That's the real account and the nominal account. Now let's see in detail what exactly is a real account and what exactly is a nominal account. Let's see the examples of it. Now, real accounts is something which has got a physical existence as well as the intangible ones. So the ones which have got a physical existence would be termed as tangible real accounts, and the ones which do not have a physical existence but still will be considered as a real account are the intangible real accounts. Now, what are the examples of these? The impersonal accounts, the tangible ones, examples could be a machinery, a motor car, a stock of goods, or a building, as I already told you. All these could be termed as a real account, which is a thing, which we call it as a thing in our day-to-day lives. But the intangible ones are the patents, the goodwill, or the trademark, or a copyright, which also comes under the category of impersonal accounts, or under the subcategory of impersonal accounts as intangible real accounts. And the impersonal account, the second category that we had was the nominal accounts. In the nominal accounts, the examples, as I told you, was wages. Then we could have stationery, salary, depreciation, commission received, discount received, or it could be discount given, commission given. All these would come under the category of nominal accounts. That means with these names there's a transaction of money, there's an exchange of money which takes place in between two people. But when we do not write a person's name, but we have given some money or taken some money from a person, we use the nominal accounts in that case. What exactly is meant by the terminology debit and credit, which is generally being used so often in the fields of accountancy? In layman's language, if you put debit and credit in a way like, if you take a notebook and the notebook has two sides, the left side page could be termed as the debit side and the right side page could be termed as the credit side. So what exactly is debit and credit? They are the two sides of a ledger. The left side of the ledger is termed as debit side and the right side of the ledger is termed as the credit side. Coming to the most important part of today's video, that's the golden rules of debit and credit. Golden rules of debit and credit could be termed for all the three types of accounts, that's the personal, the real and the nominal. Now, when we talk about personal accounts, the first personal accounts rule is debit the receiver, credit the giver. I repeat, debit the receiver, credit the giver. Now, what do we mean by this? As we already know, person or a group of people would come under this particular category. So let's take only one example of a natural person. According to a particular transaction, if a person's name is to be maintained, a person's account needs to be maintained according to a transaction. In that transaction, if the person is a receiver, he would be debited. he or she would be debited. Or if, according to the transaction, he is a giver, he or she would be credited. Now, what applies to a natural person applies to the rest of them into that particular category. Let's come to what exactly is a real account. Real account, as we already all have seen, is something which is tangible or something which is intangible, either ways. But for our convenience to remember, let's only remember the tangible ones so that it's easy for you to understand when it comes to rules. So if a thing is coming into your organization, it's termed as it comes in. So it would be debited. And if a thing goes out, it would be termed as credited. So in case cash is, after a particular transaction, is coming into the organization, that means you need to record it on the debit side. But if cash is going away from you due to any reason, you are paying that money, it's going out of your organization, then it would be termed as credited. So it would be written on the credit side. So debit side, in case the thing comes in, that is the side where you write. And credit side is the place where you write when it goes out. So cash, according to this example that I gave you, in case you are receiving cash, you would write it on the debit side. But in case you're paying cash, you write it on the credit side. I hope this example was clear enough for you to understand. What applies to cash applies to the rest of the things that you transact in. Coming to the next, nominal accounts. The next category, that's the nominal accounts. Debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. As I already had told you right at the beginning, that let's say, for example, it's a discount or a commission or a rent. All these come under the category of nominal, and in case that particular rent is your expense, it would come on the debit side. But if you are receiving the rent, it becomes your income. And in case it's your income, it is credited. In case it's your expense, it's debited. So all the expenses, all losses, always are on the debit side, and all the incomes and gains are always being credited. So let's summarize once again what exactly are the golden rules. For personal accounts, debit the receiver, credit the giver. For real account, debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Nominal account, debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. Although it may be a bit difficult for you to understand or remember it right now, but as we go ahead with examples, things will be much clearer to all of you. As we come to the end of today's session, do remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon. In my coming video, we would see examples related to all the golden rules that we discussed today. So see you soon in the next video.